Well, good morning, folks. Happy Easter. Here we are at it again. And hopefully, we've gotten some sleep, enough sleep, and I'm awake enough. So, we've got to put some of this chaos away. So, just bear with me while you guys show up. We will get started here shortly. And in case you couldn't tell, this turd of a thing here is Mitch's castle. I spray painted it black, or attempted to spray paint it black, but the spray paint I have, let's just say it didn't work really well. So we're going to hand paint the rest with the surface primer, and then get to doing that. So you might be able to see that in some videos in the future. It's very similar to a Welsh castle, I think. I mean, obviously it's some make-believe thing, but it looks a lot. It looks similar in style to, say, one of those. To the untrained eye, let's put it that way. It looks similar in style to, say, maybe a castle that Longshanks would have put on the Welsh border. That's kind of what it gives me. It gives me the feel for. I'm sure it's just total hokey, fancy, whatever it is, but it's a fish tank ornament, as I like to call it. It's one of those things that you get at a Harvey Gert. Good morning, happy Easter, Herr Gert. Hopefully, I'm a little bit more awake than I was yesterday evening. That's really frustrating to only be able to paint for about a half an hour. And to be honest with you, I probably should have switched what I was doing. I'm getting a little burned out of painting the same figures. I mean, I only had to paint 3 of them the same, but I probably, if I would have gotten tired, just started working on my JS or something like that, just to do something a little different. I mean, that was the whole purpose of me switching in between things. But, sometimes I don't listen to myself, so. I've been having a lot of trouble the last couple of days just staying asleep. I don't know why. I don't think I'm drinking any more caffeine than I normally am. I'm certainly more stressed out. Less of anything else. I don't know. I stayed up till about 1 o'clock last night. Watched a movie with the family. And woke up on my own at 5:45, something like that. So, anyhow. That's my life story. And anywho, but to recap a little bit, I did go to the store and I wanted to pick up one of the brush drying things that hangs the brushes. It's almost something like this, but it has like a coil at the top, and you can hang the brushes so that way you can dry them. You can dry them in like this, in this fashion, and maintain their shape. But I didn't like the one that they had there. It was I like more. I like going to a store and there be more variety. Not like, okay, this is the one we have. Well, what other ones do you have? No, that's all we have. I'm like, yeah. Well, maybe those days are behind us. It just seems like more and more actual storefronts don't have much variety. It used to be almost every spot they had one that was kind of crummy, but if you wanted a better one, you could buy a better one. Now it's like, this is the one we have, and that's the one we have. So, anyhow, so what are we doing this morning? Well, other than just rambling, we are going to paint this last little crossbow guy, and then we can be done with these folks. And we can do the war wagon. This thing right here, hiding over here. The German war wagon with the crew. So I think we're going to paint the war wagon first, and then the crew. Now, I can't use the normal method while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and prime this thing, because I'm going to have to if I want to hit the ball, if I want to hit the ground running after I'm done with this figure, then I need to already have primed this, or I'm going to be waiting for the primer to dry. So what I normally would do is I would take something like one of these screws and super glue it to the bottom, and that way I can handle this. But as you can see, this actually has a vertical section there in the middle that will not allow me to do that. So I was thinking I could just cut out part of it and then still glue it down through the middle, and then nobody would be the wiser, but I guess you could tell. And then I'm like, well, let's just use Mr. Helping Hands. And this is something I picked up, which I've used some. I haven't used it a whole lot. It's more useful for when I'm doing the multi-parts of vehicles. But it's, we're just going to, with the alligator clips, and we're done. And there we go. So that's what we're going to do right now. Let's go ahead and flip this thing. And let's adjust this mount so this thing doesn't slide out. The most exciting thing I do, prime. Hey, maybe there's somebody watching. That's what they really want to see is me prime things. I don't know. I don't want to judge. You guys can do whatever you want with my with this with the show that I provide. Who am I to say how you should enjoy it? Okay. Let's guess. Yeah. This one right there. Yeah, so looking at the medieval German list and the stuff I've crossed out, I have 2 crossbowmen in the army that I originally painted, plus the one I just did. And this replaces this crossbowman here, which is the city CB, or a solid city crossbowman, or a solid horde. Now the solid horde, I built them with the French. They're kind of generic. I've got a figure that's mooning everyone. They're fun. So I have all of this option now. I have these 2 crossbowmen, which are the original ones. Now if I use a war wagon, I replace one of those crossbowmen, and then have one I can use here instead of this cavalry stand, which is the Petronels. So I can't play them in every variant. Like if I wanted to just ditch this crossbow and ditch this cab that I'm painting now and use a crossbow, I can't use the double crossbow with a war wagon. I still would be short 1 crossbowman. Well, I've got my French ordnance, have an extra crossbow I could use from that. I'm not going to go crazy and paint yet another crossbow stand. We want to move on to what comes next, which should be the finishing up my Russians. That should be what I'm going to do next. So if I listen to reason, that's what I'm going to do next. And I don't always listen to reason. Okay. So let's put this here. And if you guys haven't seen how this Vallejo surface primer flows on this, it is truly amazing. And see if I can do this justice. So this stuff is very watery, but it's almost like thinned down perfectly. Let's make sure this wheel is bent how we want it. Sometimes things get put on the epoxy and they shift on you. All right, so let's see. Watch this. Well, now it's too watery. Now it's making me look bad. Hold on. Man, I did mix it pretty well. Okay, well, never mind. Don't buy this stuff. It likes to misbehave on film. I don't think that... Let's try a different batch over here. Let's see if that makes a difference. I've never seen it that watery before, ever. Let's try this over here. Yeah, it's still watery. Oh well, so to just take 2 coats. Wow, I've never seen it do that. Wonder if I should hold this upside down so next time I pull it out, it behaves. I better not. I could have a mess on my hands. Oh well, don't buy this stuff. It misbehaves. Uh, the times I've used it in the past, it almost flowed like perfectly thinned down black enamel paint. Let's zoom this out a little bit more since get all in your face about that. But yeah, I was really impressed. And this time it's not doing what it's supposed to. Oh well. Don't buy this stuff. It sucks, folks. And the reason I really like this stuff is it flows. It flowed almost the same as this. The problem is here it's not really covering. Oh well, we'll just have to give it 2 coats. No big deal. But I liked it because I didn't have to give it 2 coats when I was using it, and um, it flows really well where it doesn't leave any air bubbles that pop, and then you have to go back and paint. I mean, yes, eventually there's always some, but it was very very little that it actually was doing that. So, oh well. Totally unscripted. Why would you expect anything else from me? Hey, that's the other thing of doing this stuff. Maybe you guys will realize that, man, why is when these guys that do a lot of painting paint things, nothing seems to go wrong, but yet when I get behind the paintbrush, things happen to, having all these little issues. Well, I want to show you that these little issues happen to everybody. Okay, they're going to continue happening. It's just a matter of, how can you deal with it to get back on track. So. You got a lot of stuff that you see on the internet. You only see the good things. When things go right, you don't see all the problems. So, well, here's the problems. No big deal. It's just a little disappointing. I'm gonna have to go do this again, but the second time will be better. So this is some form of water-based polyurethane or something like that, and I think that's why it flows so well. But and they make this in a variety of colors. Black, white, like an oxide red. They make Panzer Dark Yellow, Dunkelgelb. They make it as well. And that, I don't know why you'd want to use that, but because you're just going to have to paint over it anyways. But they do make that gray. They make it in about like eight or so different shades. So now painting little things like this are one of my favorite things. In other words, something that's made of wood, making something look like it's made of wood when it really isn't. Like the miniature is not made of wood. So you got to paint the wood grain, or I enjoy that a lot. That's one of my favorite things to do is paint wood grain that's not there. It's not there because it's a metal casting, so it's just make believe. I'm glad this thing is holding together well, but when I first got this, all these joints were really loose. This is one of these items that I would pay more money for if it was a higher quality one. But, other than ordering one on Amazon, or other than ordering like five on Amazon and then picking the best one and then returning four of them, you go to the store and there was literally only one of these, one model of these. So, yeah, second coat will be better on there. Let's just make sure we got everything coated with one. We'll let this dry a little bit. I guess it was a wise move to go ahead and do this now so that we can hit the ground running when this other mounted crossbow's done. Yeah, look, I get paint on me. Like, what the hell, We'll take care of that in a second. Just distracting. Ah, there's some over here. Not that I'm a neat freak or anything. I just don't like. Hey, what's this? Oh, that's that spot of paint again. I actually know somebody who does a lot of painting, and they have a. I'm not really sure what their backstory is, but they wear a certain shirt that it looks like they've wiped every single brush they've ever painted with on the front of their shirt. Um, and yeah, I've never felt the need for that. All right, we're going to go ahead and actually take this to the sink because this has quite a bit of black in it. I don't want to contaminate all my water prematurely for no reason whatsoever when I can just take it to the sink. So we'll be right back with that, and we're going to let this dry and hit the crossbow. Okay, back we go. We're just going to set this guy off to the side and go grab our usual suspects. Mr. Paint Palette. And let's see where we had this camera. There we go. Something like that. Something along those lines. Okay, some coffee. Got a little tinge of a headache. We'll see if we can't get that to go away. All right, so this crossbowman. What the hell color was I using? You know what? This is probably that gray-green or whatever. Last night was a blur. The 30-minute painting thing that I did was just like, that was not my intention. It just kind of happened. Oh, well. Oh, and here it is. All right, well, there's no reason to put more of that down there. Let's see if we can bring that back to life. See if we can necromance that back. See, it separates when you put it on this wall. You can, I don't know if you could really tell on here, but the water that's in this color has raised to the top, so it's almost has like a water bubble on top of where the paint is. Yeah, you just touch it here, and you can see that it's touching that the water bubble part. You got to like break through that to get to the actual paint, and then mix it up in here. So it does get affected by the paint palette over time, but you know, this is like overnight, so this isn't going to creep up on you if you're always using this paint. So let's go ahead and do this here. See if I can remember about what stage I was in the painting. If not, it's going to be close. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, that was pretty close. All right, let's just make sure yeah, I was super, 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 super tired yesterday. And then I stopped filming and I'm like, well, let me try to go to sleep and take a nap. Well, that didn't work out. So I'm like, well, let me watch. Well, yesterday morning we were talking about the Welsh and a little bit about their history. And I was like, I got to find some stuff on YouTube for the Welsh history. So that's what I was looking, and I watched videos for a little while, and yeah, I don't know, it was weird. At least I don't feel crummy. It just you know, difficult. Yeah, this white is totally behaved differently now. All right. I think at one point I was I was painting yesterday, and I think I fell asleep just like this for like 15 seconds or something like that. Oh well, happens to the best of us, right? Harvey, what if you're watching? What is it that you work on? What is it that you paint? What's your go-to thing? I don't know that, I don't think you're a DVD player, which is fine. It doesn't really matter. I mean, that's doesn't matter what you're painting. Um, what is it that you war game? What period? What scale? Be curious to find out. Oh, where's my buddy? My contact lens case. Here it is. Oh, we're gonna need more of that. Lighten this up a little bit. Your present project is 15 millimeter ECW, But most enthusiasm goes into Napoleonics with 28 millimeter. That's a lot of painting. 15 millimeter ECW. You have a favorite side? I've got, I know a lot of people that are into the English Civil War. I'll be honest with you, I don't know much about it. Um, you have a favorite side that you like to play, or you just like playing all of them? Although I'd rather play English Civil War than American Civil War. American Civil War just doesn't interest me at all. Um, Mainly because I don't like the period. I mean the fact that at least the English Civil War, you have the two factions, but then you have Irish and you have Scotsmen as well. So you've got certainly more multinational than American Civil War, and that's an attraction for me. Is I like the different I like conflicts that involve many different nationalities. That's just kind of how I've always been. So when there's only two sides, it's just kind of really, really boring, as far as I'm concerned. You do play DBA, but due to COVID, you can't replay. Okay, yeah, yep. That's the problem with folks. With Napoleonics, I've done very little Napoleonic play. Supposed to do some next week, like on Tuesday. We'll see if that, but that's DBN, which I'll be honest with you. If I was really big into Napoleonics, I wouldn't play DBN. It just wouldn't have enough flavor for me. It would be equivalent of like, uh, well, the reason I don't play Flames of War. Well, there's many reasons I don't play Flames of War, but I'm a World War II nut, and that just does not have enough detail for my favorite period. So if I was big on Napoleonics, DBN just wouldn't even do it. It's just not my thing. So um, your favorite is Russian. I like the uniforms. I have figures for Russian, French, and Bavarian. Okay. Russians. I like playing the Russians. There's a board game called Maneuver, and it's very difficult to describe what exactly it is. In some ways, it's like DBA. In many ways, it's not. It's like DBA in that you have a handful of units, I believe 10, and every army is the same, but you have to play them a little different, and you activate through a card draw, and it's quaint in that it's a very small board. The board might be 18 by 18 or something like that, and but it's a very nice looking game, and I like playing the Russians in that game. That's that's the only Russian tie-in I can do um, with that stuff. Now, I may have been tempted to do DBN in um, and paint it, but Mitch's friend Joel, who is coming to, well, he's supposed to be moving to Florida here this year. Um, he, for some reason, got on a big kick, and he has all the armies. So, like, well, that relieved me from having to paint them. But the whole reason for me to like say get involved in painting Napoleonics, just to kind of let you know how I tick, would be to read about it. Because I have cursory information of the Napoleonic Wars. I mean, they're really, really complicated from the standpoint is, okay, well, we defeated you, but, we're going to knock you guys out. But then in a few years later, you're going to come back with, something else. So that's kind of unusual for me to kind of wrap my head around that. So it's confusing and multifaceted. But I'm willing to learn things. Wargaming for me has always been about history and always about reading and learning about history. So, and then learning as you play a game. So, I know some people aren't interested in that. I am. That's why I have zero interest in doing anything fantasy because you lose that. So you get to play a game and learn real world flat facts that may not be interested to a lot of people, but that's that's irrelevant. I like to learn. So, but I don't have to worry about painting Napoleonics because Joel has them all. Now, one thing I will tell you, my favorite sculptor, you may have heard me say this before. My favorite sculptor. I mean, not even it's not even close. I'm like this guy's biggest fanboy was the guy who started the Old Glory 15 millimeter castings. A guy by the name of Dave Alsop, and I absolutely would not mind painting. I love his 20 millimeter stuff. That's what got me into doing 20 millimeter. This stuff, these guys right here. See if I can do them justice with. I painted these guys a long time ago. This is one of his castings, and this was done in the 80s, I believe, like the mid 80s. But he did a bunch of the old glories and 15s. And I can tell, I can look at their castings and go, that's a Dave Alsop, that's a Dave Alsop. He has a specific style, and it's a style I happen to love. So I wouldn't mind painting. I wouldn't mind painting some of his stuff, even if it's in a different period. I'm his biggest fanboy. But that's why I can tell you I'm more of a painter than I am a gamer because I would paint his stuff for a period. I wasn't interested in gaming just because I like the style his stuff is. And there's other sculptors that I like as well, but that's the one definitely that stands out for me. I like his style. I like the poses that he picked. He doesn't have any these really weird, awkward type poses that many manufacturers seem to have in many of their lines. You belong to a group. When we can meet, we hire a hall, and six of us put on the game 2,000 plus figures with big battalions using General de Brigade rules. I've heard that. I've heard that set of rules. I think relatively new. Relatively new meaning in the last 20 years. Yeah, everything from 2000, that's new. For me, wargaming is a three-part process. First, reading the history. Second, painting the figures, building terrain. Third is the game. I agree with you completely. And some people, I'm not going to mention any names, but some people aren't very interested in the history of it. And I am. It's your way of participating in history. So, yep. Yeah, I agree with you completely. That's why I looked up the thing on the Welsh. I don't know jack shit about the Welsh. And there's just so much. And I don't mind reading, but usually my first go-to thing is on YouTube. Like, okay, somebody certainly has made a video that kind of touches on the major points of whatever it is I'm trying to learn. And at that point, I will see, I can commit to like 5 minutes or whatever, and then realize, is this really something that I really want to know more about? And you'll know after that point. So, yeah, it's good to learn things. It's good to exercise your brain. Unfortunately, this silly hobby that we have is very difficult to get people on the street to talk about it. That's why we have to have these little heart-to-heart chats like this, because this is a very select, we'll say elite, make ourselves feel better, elite group of people that are interested in this type of material. You know, um, I can't talk about people at work about this. They just wouldn't get it. I finally came to a realization a couple of years ago when I have talked to non-wargaming people about wargaming or historical wargaming, that they just weren't wrapping their head around. A lot of people had the same question, and I didn't. It as a wargamer, this doesn't occur to you because you know what's going on behind the curtain. But a lot of people that say that you ask you, well, what is historical wargaming? They don't understand because like, well, why would you want to do historical wargaming? Because you already know what's going to happen. And as a historical wargamer, that never even crosses our mind because we know what it's all about. But then I started thinking about it. These guys have no idea that we use probability decision making in dice. They just thought that we just set up like a diorama and moved around the pieces on the diorama as things happen. Like, okay, the battle started at 8 a.m. All right, we'll put our divisions in this thing. Okay, at 8:45, we're gonna start moving this core over to. No, it's not. That would be stupid. Who the hell would want to do that? That'd be like making a documentary or something that would always end the same way. And it wasn't until about a year ago that I'm like, no, folks, it's use dice and there's no gambling. Well, I guess there's some people that war game and gamble. We don't. But yeah, people weren't wrapping their heads around the fact that there's a chance of things happening every turn, and they frequently do not turn out how they did historically. And that's the fun of it. If it did, then what was the point in even playing? So yeah. Oh well. Yeah, I didn't realize that was the case. Oh well. Yeah, there's nobody you can talk to this on a daily basis, unless you go on some kind of hobby chat or something like that, like this. So there's a lot of games. There's several games that I didn't know Mitch until 2000 and we'll call it 2008. But we didn't start really getting together until 2010. So there's many games that I used to or I have and he had as well, even though we never played together. Command Decision, which is the World War II rule set that miniatures rule set that I grew up using to play in the late '80s. I don't play it anymore, but he has that as well. We both had Napoleon's Battles, um, the miniature rule set for Napoleonic stuff. He still has it. I got rid of mine. We had that Napoleon in Europe game by Eagle Games, which is a beautiful game. I never played it, sold mine. He happened to have it as well. The Axis and Allies games, we both have those. I used to have the first Command and Colors Ancients. I sold it because I wasn't playing it, and it's a good game, but it just seems a little too generic for the period. It's a great game. Um, in some ways, it's better than DBA because of the gameplay decision, but it's a game. You don't. I don't feel like I'm playing the period. Um, what else did we both have? Except I got rid of my copy. I don't. I'm never going to play those games, and if I did, I would play them with his. You know. I remember New Year's Eve. I don't know what year it was. We'll call it. I think it was before my daughter was born, so we'll call it 2003. I was sick over New Year's Eve. Nothing big. It was just I didn't go anywhere, and I had just gotten a copy of the Command and Colors Ancients, and I spent that whole weekend or whatever just pasting those decals on those blocks, and then never played the game. I have played it before. I just never played my copy of it. So as time goes on, I find that I am more and more apprehensive and reading through the rules to learn how to not playing other games, reading through the rules and try to figure out how to play a new game. I'm not interested in that anymore. So I don't mind playing other games. I just don't want to. I want to be able to ask someone who's the expert on the game. Hey, now what happens when I do this? Not like, okay, let's find it in the rules. And part of that is just being older, and part of it is I've done so much of that with DBA that I just don't want to do that anymore. That's not a fun part of the hobby for me. that's just a chore. So, um, all too often you're condemned as playing toy soldiers. Yeah. Well, everybody has their things that they do. I just, I've done it for so long. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine not being a war gamer. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine all of a sudden something snapping and like, oh, I'm just one of those thugs that all they do is watch sports on TV and yell at the TV. And no, that's not happening to this guy. So yeah, I have trouble finding stuff in because I don't do anything sports related. I frequently have stuff. I frequently have trouble finding things in common with most people. So, not with you guys because we're all on the same page. But even if I'm not into English Civil War, I could be. I mean, if that's what we were going to play, it'd be things to figure out and stuff like that. But yeah, I most people aren't war gamers, or they go, "Oh, I played a war game before. I played Risk." Well, all it takes is a war gamer to play Risk one time and realize, that's not a very good war game. uh, Risk is as good a war game as Monopoly is as a business model. So most people on the street, you know, I live in a college town, so everybody here is like football, 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 and I'm like, you know, I'll be honest with you, I don't mind playing football as a video game. Because again, you're making warlike tactical type decisions, and that's the fun part. The fun part is for me to make, to use your brain and make decisions and work on tactics and stuff like that. You can get that out of football, but not just watching it. I mean, I want to like make the decisions. That's why I'm not big on movies, because movies is there's no decision to be made. Like somebody made a movie, and what do? You just sit around and see how it unfolds. That's just a little too um, not interactive enough for me. That doesn't mean I won't watch movies, but that's the part that's missing. Um, I'm just telling you, I just don't know. I don't know how. I can't imagine myself not being a war gamer. I just cannot imagine myself being one. So it's in my blood. And I didn't have a dad who did that. I mean, my dad was very inspirational for many things. Uh, History and geography being two of them. He didn't do either one of them for a living, but he was always on a quest for knowledge. He wanted to learn things, and he definitely passed that on to me. I'm not necessarily interested in learning things he was necessarily interested in, but it's still a thirst for knowledge. So, but yeah, I never got to. I never played. Dad did not play war games. So I didn't get that from him. But anywho, um, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. I have a similar view. There are rule sets I enjoy, and I can't be arsed to read. Nice. I like that. And learn new rules for a period I already play. Been gaming 40 plus years. I have boxes of rules already. It's just, I know I've heard of people that all they do is collect rules and never play any of the games. Um, I think rules are a way to get these creations we do on the tabletop. Otherwise, we're just building dioramas, which I've done that in the past, but it's just not my cup of tea. I don't want to build 135th scale models and they just sit there and I don't, you know, I want to blow things up with my creations and make boom boom sounds with them as well. It's part of the enjoyment. Oh man. And this is pretty much the only thing I do. I don't, well, I don't do this for a living, but I'm just saying, it's not like I go and, I don't watch sports. I don't, That's not true. I do other stuff with the family, but this is something I don't do. You know, my daughter has zero interest in this. She's actually scared of gamers, and I get it. There's some creepy folks out there. The great unwashed. Like, hey, it's fun to be a war gamer, dude, but you should be showering every day. It's good for morale. She will not go into a game shop with me. She's creepy, creeped out by some of those people. Good. Yeah, that's why I put my Renaissance stuff kind of on the back burner because I just don't want to play it bad enough to try to do all this stuff from scratch. And the environment has really changed a lot in the last year. Like I don't really want to argue about with people. There's just too many people pushing their agenda and wanting you to and be argumentative in the last year and a half, ever since this thing happened. I don't want any of that. I don't, if your favorite color is blue, well, mine's green, and I don't care if yours isn't green, and you shouldn't care if mine's not blue. But there's a lot of people that don't think that way, and that's just too much trouble. I'm not interested in arguing with folks. So maybe I'll get around to it one day. You'll know when I get around to it when I start painting some of those armies, but it hasn't happened yet. So you have unwashed games there too. I meant gamers. Unwashed gamers. All right, let's see how we're doing with this because we keep. Let's lighten this up a little bit more. Oh, yeah, let's lighten that up a little bit more. And we're going to put some little. This takes a long time what I'm doing, but it's actually really enjoyable. This part, you're building up the colors of this horse and stuff. This is therapeutic. Therapeutic for sure. There's lots of people that do like game reviews, and I mean basically like board games when I'm saying it, and they just have so many. It's like, how did you get to have so many games? I mean, you're not. I mean, by the time you have, I'd say 50 games, and you don't play any of them, why are you continuing to buy more? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I just saw the light earlier. It's just unsatisfying to buy things and not use them. Not trying to be frugal. I'm just being realistic. There's just some things that just don't make any sense to this guy. I mean, we all have a few, but and then you don't get rid of them because you're like, well, maybe I'll get around to painting it, but they just after a while, I'm like, okay, I don't want to look at this thing anymore. It's obvious I'm never going to play it. So, perfect example is Wings of War. I came really close to playing it the other day with Mitch. We may do that at one time, but I bought the whole set, the old original set. I know it's been released and it's called something a little different now. Back when it was done by the first company that did it. I have all four expansions. I've never played it. I took them all out of the box. I've played the game. I've never run my own game of it. There, that's the better way to say it. I've played with other people, and they've been the point on it. We've played some stuff online also with it as well. I've actually played quite a bit of it. I just haven't played it with the boys here, and but I've never played with my copy of it. So, Renaissance. Have you looked at the Perfect Captain website? Absolutely. An interesting free rules set for the wars of religion. Yeah, yeah. The problem is it's overwhelming. Like, where do I start? Yeah, I absolutely have looked at their stuff. I would love to play a game of the East. Because the original Princes of the East even have had DBA army lists for all their stuff over there. They have a really good quality stuff that they do. It looks like the things would have a lot of period specific detail, which is appeals to me because that's the whole point in wargaming a new period is to learn about that period. Well, how do you learn about a period if the game is so damn generic that you don't feel like you're playing something different? Well, their rule set, what's their main one called? Spanish Fury. Is it actions? No, Spanish Fury Pistolado. That's what it is. Pistolado is there is. Yeah, that's my period, man. That's my period. I like that stuff. When my people whooped everybody's ass, and then 50 years later they didn't know how to spend money and they went bankrupt. Yeah, I've got in 15 millimeter scale. I've got a bunch of figures for Huguenots, French Catholics, Elizabethan English, the Spanish, Dutch. Who else? That may be it. But yeah, I like that whole Armada period. And I've seen the rule sets, and they're really cool. There's a lot, but it's just like, where do I start? I'm one of those people that it's like I've got to like, okay, you put on a game, and then if I like it, then I can buy into the game, so that I have like maybe like a stepping stone of knowledge. Like, okay, I know this basic fundamental things, and I can build upon that. But I think their game might just too many figures to paint for me. But I'd play it with counters or something like that. They have that sail game too, right? Yeah, because they have like a dueling. It's like four. They have a sailing ship, a campaign, their standard rule set, and then they've got like a skirmish set which would be something something else. So that would I just I've looked at their stuff. It's just I don't have the motivation to sit down and learn it. I also don't have a lot of time where I could sit interrupted and like try to learn to play something. If I do, then I don't paint. So there's not time to do everything. Maybe if I was still single. Um, but then when I was single, I didn't have people I could play with every week consistently. Because I've consistently been able to play every week for a decade. That's like really fortunate. A lot of people can't, but the last decade I've been playing basically at least once a week. Um, Spanish Fury managed to play two games of Dutch Spanish Fury with 15 millimeter Renaissance figures. I can't get anyone now to get interested in the rules. Well, a lot of people don't like that period, and I don't know why. I think the period is I like that period a lot. As a matter of fact, when I was talking about up the RRR rules again, I'm just going to run it all the way through 1600 and then just stop it there because time periods after that just don't really interest me. The uniforms and equipment get more standardized the later you go. You start getting into the 1700s and everybody's wearing about the same thing, just in different colors. Well, that doesn't interest me to paint them. And Anyhow, I may never get around to doing the DBA sized Renaissance thing, but the first thing is like, okay, how big do you make a tercio? Okay, how big do you want to make it? How many figures? That's kind of where it all starts, and then everything would go from there. Now, I'd say a minimum of 16 figures on a stand, because I want a one stand system. You know, the problem with that many figures is you got to be really creative how you mount them so that you can get all the goop in between all the figures. But I think I've figured it out. But I just don't want to do it bad enough, you know. And if I do that, I'm not doing this, and I know I'm going to get games in of this. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, I do like the 1500 stuff. They make several games, and I haven't played any of them. And not because they don't look like they're good. It's just that they just don't have the energy to be the point guy on it. UCW will start with DVR rules. My Renaissance games now use Field of Glory. A Tercio is 16 stands at four figures. Holy shit, that's a lot. Yeah, I would want to play with one stand as a unit. It just, it's a playing piece, and yeah, I could split off in different things, but um, I'm not worried about it. If I never get around to gaming it. Um, so have you ever played? I don't know if you've played any kind of computer games. Have you? And you mentioned Field of Glory. Have you ever played the Pike and Shot game by Slytherin? It's the predecessor of Field of Glory, the computer game. I love that game. I absolutely love Pike and Shot, and I feel like it has a good period feel to the game. And even though it has basic like graphics, I think the basic like graphics that it has are good. And it's really, really cheap now. I mean, it's like I think $20 you get everything. It might even be less than $20. Um, Pike and Shot campaigns, kind of a boring name title. They could have come up with something a little bit more exciting than that, but I love that game, and I've played a fair amount of it. So I can get my Renaissance game thrills on by playing that. I like that actually better than Field of Glory. What do they have to Field of Glory? Is it just the regular Field of Glory and then Field of Glory Medieval? Which I've been playing that in the current tournament. It gives me some gameplay in, but it does. You still don't have the face to face human interaction. No, I can't get into computer games. Sitting at a computer is too much like work. Yeah, the problem is playing against the computer just isn't interesting anymore. Um, it'll never replace this for me, But then I get to be creative and look at who makes what figures and where can I get them and how many would I have to buy and how would I paint them. Well, let me look that up, and there's so many more. I keep getting distracted here. I needed to get black and I missed a couple spots here on the underside of this figure I wanted to get to here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me be quiet for a moment so that I can do that. Did I finish painting this last guy? I didn't. I've got to paint his chin. I just remember I didn't have it paint his chin painted. All right, we'll set him off to the side. We could do that one at the same time that we do this one. Anybody can play a game, but those of us that are interested in painting and paint, we should do that. because not everybody can do that. Especially if we enjoy it, you know. I mean, if painting is a chore, it kind of is a chore, but it's a therapeutic chore. So yeah, I know what you mean about sitting in front of the computer a little bit too much like work, but I sit in front of a computer for a lot of things I don't enjoy doing. I'd like to sit in front of the computer to do things I do enjoy doing. All right, we're gonna do a no-no. We're gonna pour this soda over this coffee that, well, my headache's gone. Perfect. So the girls are out of town. They've been gone about half the period they're supposed to be gone. So on one hand, I thought would have been I would have been making better progress on what I'm doing with them when they're not here. But the reality is if the girls are home, I can still do this. You know, it's not like I can only work on this when they're not around. So I think this is a good hobby because you can have people around you. You don't have to like hide in a corner or, you know, or hog the TV or, you know, whatever it is that you're doing. You can still interact with folks while you're doing this. Speaking of computer games, I remember I used to play the Total War series a lot. It just turned into the same thing. I think I picked up the Roman one, the new Roman one, really cheap, and the Three Kingdoms one because I love the Three Kingdoms period. But it's like it's just too much work. It's too much like okay, you got to marry this guy to this person, but look out because you got to make sure these guys don't revolt. It's like holy shit! I just want to get inspired for the period. I don't want to do all this busy work and herd cats. You know, it's a little too involved. So usually when I want to do any gaming, I usually boot up the Xbox and just get my game on for you know a few minutes or whatever. But some things just don't capture my attention anymore. I'm kind of done with first person shooters. I've just done so many of them over the years. I mean, we're kind of the generation that started doing them ever since they were around. I was in my late teens when they started to come out, and you know, I've saved the world countless times from demons and Nazis. You know, it's like I'm kind of done. Okay, you know, I'm kind of done with that whole phase of my life. And this, unlike what I'm doing right now, when I'm done with this, even if I'm not done with a figure, if I do a painting session, at the end of the painting session, I felt like I did something productive and feel good about myself. At the end of a gaming session, especially one that was like really challenging, I felt like I'd been harassed by by problems for the last couple of hours. So it's not although it may be fun, it's not therapeutic, at least for me, you know. The other thing about computer games, video games, is sometimes things don't work. And I find that extremely, and I mean, sometimes things don't work from a hardware aspect. And I find that extremely boring and something I'm not really interested in. You know, I'm not going to wake up one morning, well, I don't think I'm going to, and all of a sudden not know how to paint. Or I can't paint because I've forgot how to hold a brush anymore. It's just that's and when you're dealing with stuff that is technology based, you go and you want to play something and you can't because there's a new patch and you can't play it until the new patch is, and the new patch takes 3 days to download, and all that frustration that gets involved in it, and then you finally get a chance to play the game, and then whatever it is that you're fighting is hounding you incessantly, and then you got to go to work and you're in a bad mood because it's like, no, no, I'd rather paint here. It might take forever to have to get this complete, but the journey is all a positive journey. People starting to wake up. Happy Easter to you guys. Starting to wake up. What time is it in Europe? One? Something like that? Or wait, the time changed. So is that noon or is it two? Let me think. It's brighter now. Spring forward. I think it's a 4 hour difference now to Greenwich. I could be wrong. It's nearly 1 p.m. One, two, three, four, five. Okay, that's five. Okay. We're Greenwich minus five normally. We must have a chat sometime about naval wargaming. Woo! I got big opinions on that one. I've been messing about with rules for decades and have ideas I'd like to get opinions on. Okay, you want to talk about it right now? Okay, let me see if I can give you my short version. I apologize, I'm not good at short. I end up giving you too many details. So, growing up, I used to play a game called Sea Creek 4, and it involved range estimating, and it was all 1890 to 1945. We mostly did World War II stuff, and just to kind of put everything into perspective, it armor locations, deck, turret, conning tower, superstructure, hull. 5 hit locations. 5 hit locations. A lot of them is like there's a rule set and I forget what it's called. The command, I think it's command and C, has like 2 armor values. I'm like, no. I grew up really, and I got this from my dad. My dad always had books on battleships. And my favorite one, I actually have a video where I did a review of my favorite book called I forget what it is, but it's I think it's by Anthony Preston. But it was a book that was done in the early 80s. Full color, lots of details for us, detailed junkies. I'm totally a rivet counter when it comes to that stuff. That's what we had those on those coffee table type books. So that's where I learned all that stuff on. And the very first wargaming thing that I was interested in the early 80s was the stuff about the World War II stuff with the German raiders. So, the Bismarck and the Scharnhorst and Gneisenau and all that kind of stuff. And when I found out a couple of years later I can game that, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the shit. So that's basically what I did. Yeah, I dabbled in some land stuff and things like that, but mostly I was a naval war gamer. But I'm not interested in carriers, and I'm not interested in the US stuff. So I like to do the North Atlantic and the Mediterranean in World War II. That was my two areas of interest. And Sea Creek 5 came around in 2005, and Joe, who games with us, he has that. He plays with the Sea Creek 5 guys because the author of both of those rule sets, it lives in a town about an hour and a half from us. But I wouldn't say Sea Creek 4 was complicated, but I played a lot of it. But we were range estimating and stuff, and just the idea of sitting on a floor and like guessing ranges, like That's way too much effort for me. I've done it before for many, many years. It's just not worth it to game that way, anymore. Now, so I'm not in, I'm particularly not interested in playing naval games that are really generic. So like you'll never see me play any of them whatever sets that are just very generic, because it's kind of like it's a religious experience for me when I'm learning about these ships, because naval wargaming for me is it's always about the ships. So if you're not interested in the ships, if you don't have a love for them and how one class is different than another or something like that, then I just feel like you're not really getting the flavor of what it's all about, in my opinion. So for me, it's always about the ships, and painting them and doing and all that stuff and learning about them and so forth. Now, I don't think that anything has come out that has the kind of detail that I want other than the Sea Creek games. Um, there is a set of rules that are free. I don't remember where they were. I think there's a site called Free War Games or something like that. And they're called Fire on the Water. Now, and this guy had a really unique system of the problem with naval games is this: you spend a lot of time in the actual game trying to figure out if you hit the other ship. Nobody complains about the game being really complicated once a shell lands on the ship and you start rolling for hit location and the effects that it does, because the way I visualize it, it's almost like if you ever watched that Russian movie called T-34 that has a lot of slow motion sequences. That's the way I visualize it. Or maybe that scene in Pearl Harbor where the bomb goes down and it goes through the certain decks. It's very specific, once a hit actually happens, it's very interesting to see the repercussions of what happens to that hit. But if you spend a lot of time trying to figure out, do you even hit the ship? That's time wasted. Okay. Um, so this Fire on the Waters rule set, I came across it, and this guy had a really unique way of figuring that out. And I'm going to see if I have a device that I put together for him, because I did play a handful of games of it. Heck, it was probably 10 years ago. And I still kept this, and it was from his game. It's not necessarily something he did, but it's something that was my take on it, and I bet I can find it. Um, so what he did is, and I'm probably doing a really bad example of describing this, as unfortunately I do. I have the best intentions, but sometimes my follow through isn't the best. But he had this. He had these series of these dice, and that you would roll a very, when you have one ship firing at another ship, you would roll like a 10-sided die, okay? And if you're like at long range, I forget in that game whether you needed to roll high or low, but let's say in that game you needed to roll low. You would just roll a d10 if you were firing from, say, one ship to another, and if you didn't roll a one or two, that's it. You moved on to the next ship, okay? So you didn't have to roll all this complicated stuff to find out if you weren't even close to begin with. And as you started getting close, if you got a close result, then you would go and you would try to figure out, okay, well, was it really a close result? Or, so you don't waste all this time calculating a hit that never happens. And that was really, really unique. I don't know if I'm going to be successful at finding this, but what it was a series of dice. So I took this little, almost like a dice dividing thing, almost like something you would use to divide like your pills that you're supposed to take every week. And it was a sequence of, it's here somewhere, I didn't get rid of it. So I used a series of dice that you would just basically roll all at once. And you could read them left to right and see if you landed a hit. And if you did, then you looked at the other dice roll and, see where it hit. And then you would look at the other dice roll that would tell you what it would penetrate. And then the other one that would be what the effect. So it was like you would shape this box together that had all these compartments. Um, and it would tell you, so in one die roll, you could just shake it, bam, put this thing down, and then read to see whether or not you got a hit or not. So it sounded really cool. It worked well in practice. The problem with it is that his rules were unfinished. And he had an interesting system of, I'm just not going to be able to find this, am I had it here for so many years. He had this really interesting system of how he did flooding. So it wasn't a damage model that was progressive, because when I started playing Siegfried 4, that's how it was. You know, it was done by tonnage. You had, so however many hit points you had per the size of the ship, and you know, destroyers had significantly less hit points because it was by tonnage, and it was proportional. So a battleship could take a hell of a lot more pounding than a destroyer, which isn't necessarily an accurate representation of it by the way that most games are figured out nowadays. But it's certainly, I'm just not going to be able to find it. I'll come across it one day, but I'm sure the rules are they're called Fire on the Water. But this guy had a really unique way of being able to do that and not waste much time. Now the problem is that a lot of his game was finished. So you know you would have to you'd have to do a lot of the stuff yourself. And then at some point I had printed the game out, and then I just said, you know, I'm never going to mess with this again because it's just too much of an uphill battle. I was already playing DBA and things like that. I just didn't have the time to devote to it. But it was a very unique system. It's called Fire on the Waters, and it's still, I don't know where the hell that thing is. That's going to drive me crazy. Oh well. But I devised that little container to kind of get the game moving, you know, so you could have a result in a reasonable amount of time. I don't know where it is. But I had like a 10-sided die, and it was like blue. It was like light blue with white things on there. So you looked at that one first. And, you know, you're at long range and say, okay, well, your base hit number is like a 4. Okay. So if you rolled 5 or higher, don't even look at other the dice. So it was a box. Maybe it was about the size of this. Maybe it might have been a little bit smaller, and it was subdivided in different things. So there would be, it was almost like one of those fishing lure type snap things, so it was transparent. So you had all the dice in there, and you would just shake it and go boom, and you put it down, and you'd look at that first one, and if it was like a really high number, you knew you weren't going to hit. Okay, move on to the next ship. So it was really simple. But then if you did like, oh, it hit there. Okay, where did it hit? Oh, how much damage did it do? How, you know, so that kind of sped things out. Now the bad thing is it takes the fun out of like the suspense of where is it going to hit? Where's it going to hit? And then you roll another dice. It's all done at one time, but it did speed up the game, and you didn't waste your time doing a lot of computation. So if I was really interested in doing naval gaming, okay, I would probably pursue that a little bit more. Like, you know, maybe use his system and have like armor values, and because I got to have a game that's got a lot of armor values, because that's how you learn about the ships. But we played Siegfried a lot. I remember one of our most memorable games of all wargaming was the Siegfried 4 game we played circa 1994. I'm going to say 1994. And I went to a friend of mine's house, and he had blue carpet, and we played on the floor, 4 of us. And we started at like 9 o'clock on a Saturday, and we stopped about noon on Sunday. We played all through the night. We played like 26 hours straight. We went through like 60 something turns or something ridiculous, range estimating all night, and nobody had won yet. That doesn't mean things didn't happen. It was just still kind of a draw, which I think was a good thing, because it wasn't like, well, you're dragging it out and I have no chance of winning, you know. So was that long-winded enough? I gotta find that device. and it's really pretty cool. You've been down the rivet counting road, but I find gaming fatigue sets in if you have more than a few capital ships. Also, decision making is usually limited, so fatigue is not moderated by decisions. That's a good point. The problem with naval wargaming is that most of the time don't have really meaningful decisions to make. If you're doing something like, well, let's say you do something that's pretty manageable, like Battle of River Plate. That's a very manageable battle. What meaningful decisions do you have to make? Not very many. If you're the pocket battleship, do you focus on Exeter and then do the secondary guns at the other light cruisers? Do you shoot everything at once? I mean, that's it. And you're playing keep away basically, and the other side's trying to play close them up. That's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot of decision making to do, which is the opposite of, say, a game like DBA where you have lots of pip management to figure out. So yeah, that's the problem with naval gaming is there usually isn't some meaningful decisions to make. But it is all about the love of the ships, and I absolutely do love warships. Not the modern ones, but the old time. I mean, I absolutely love that stuff, and I used to dig it up, and I've got all kinds of shit that I remember that that's what I grew up with. And that was my first wargaming was naval, and we've had some. I remember we played a buddy of mine. We played the New Year's Eve battle, which I believe is called. The official name of it is the Battle of Barents Sea, and that's where Lutzow and Hipper and their three destroyers split up and get the convoy from two different sides. That was one of my favorite battles. I remember we played that on the 50th anniversary of that battle. So we're losers on New Year's Eve, 1992, playing that on the floor. That's one of my favorite battles. We also did one time that was a which battle of Sirte Gulf was it? Might have been the second one, where the Italians have a battleship and heavy cruiser. The only thing the Brits have are just some crap cruisers and just destroyers defending this convoy, and the British won. That was amazing. Because sometimes you look at a battle and it's like unless you put a lot of fog of war, you're like, well, there's no way that the side that lost would lose in real life, because you just have all the hindsight and all the fog of war. But I'll be damned if the Brits didn't win. Um, what else did we do? We did a campaign. I ran a campaign, an ABDA campaign. Never liked the Pacific. Didn't do any Pacific after Guadalcanal, and I did have some holdouts that like the war game in the Pacific. So we did some Guadalcanal games sometimes. But if I had to do Pacific, I like the ABDA stuff because you've got Australians, Americans, Dutch. You got a different conglomeration of different things. And I ran a campaign in in late 1941 where the Japanese attacked, and some really interesting things happened in a campaign game that you wouldn't necessarily game because it's really one-sided, but you got to game them because that's what happens, and that really made it interesting. But yeah, yeah, that Fire on the Water, he's got some scenarios too. I've got him floating around somewhere about the Spanish Civil War. So if I was ever going to get into it again, that's probably what I would focus on was do Spanish Civil War because then you could do a lot of what if stuff. Because there's many engagements in there, and they're like, well, what happens if these guys stumble across it as well? Because that's what we ended up doing a lot of. We did a lot of what ifs. We didn't necessarily do historical battles, but that big battle that we played on the floor was. We took the composition of the Japanese force that attacked the Aleutians, and just we took the availability U.S. forces that could have intercepted them but didn't, and built the battle around that. So the Japanese formation was historical, but because those ships did sail together and this is what they consisted of, but the U.S. intercept force never intercepted them. So, yeah, good stuff. Good times. Good times. Hello from Denny's. Oh, my condolences. You've got all day. You'll be there a while. That's the one thing about Denny's. It's you can't get out of there without being in there for like 2 hours or something like that. Sure seems like it. My two regular gamers would play either Tsushima or Dogger Bank. Not the Russian Baltic Fleet versus the fish Dogger Bank 1915. Yeah, I knew what you were talking about. If I had to, I sold all my 2400 scale ships, except a few, like three, literally. I didn't like how they were painted anymore. And that was one thing that I had bought growing up, and I ended up selling them and actually made money on them because the price of them got so much more expensive. So I actually made money on what they were before, and then I used that to buy all my Vallejo paints and stuff like that. It's not like I'm going to buy 400. I don't think I have 400 bottles of paint, but I have a lot of paint. But it all came from hobby money. It wasn't like I just threw it down and just started buying it because I don't need to have as many colors as I do. But I was just like, well, what am I going to do with it now? So, but yeah, if I was going to get back into it, I would probably do the Victorian era stuff, and then you have almost a free plate to a free canvas to do what if stuff because just about anybody could have fought anyone. And the ranges are relatively slow, not low. Now, the only thing I don't like about the Victorian era warships is that I really dislike some of the paint schemes, and it seemed like a lot of the nations use the same paint scheme. With either they would have the black hull and the ochre tops with white or something like that, or all white with the ochre. I don't like the ochre. I don't like the ochre at all, especially really like gray or white with the ochre. I just think it looks horrendous. And even if I was to paint it, I don't want three nationalities that have the same paint scheme. So I would have to put my own little spin on it, so that the Germans look different than the British look that different, all within that whole scope of that thing. But yeah, I don't like the ochre at all. I think it looks really out of place, you know, but I do like those old weird looking pre-dreadnought type ships, especially those French castle looking ones. But again, if I'm doing that, I'm not doing this. So I think I'm better off doing this. There's a lot more variety of different stuff, and there's not a whole lot of meaningful decisions to make. Now, there is a computer game that came out last year that hell, I don't even remember what it's called, but I could get my World War II gaming out. I can get my gaming out of it if I needed to play that. I don't even remember what the hell it's called anymore. Complete Admiral Dreadnought, something like that. Anyhow, the bad part about that game is that it's very difficult you have to design ships and then you go out and fight, and it's still in kind of in teething mode. Like it's not released. What's it called? Pre-release or whatever. I stopped doing computer gaming until last year for like 8 or 10 years, and that wasn't a thing before. It's like nobody would release a game until it was ready to be released. Not like, okay, well, we'll give you a really discounted price, but this thing's not finished yet. I don't know what they probably started that business model to try to collect funds, but what ends up happening is you end up paying for an unfinished game. It has big loopholes in it, and then you get an unsatisfying experience. And if they do end up finishing it, I've like lost interest in playing it. But that's just me, you know. Um, all right, that was long-winded. Hey, it beats the hell out of falling asleep, though. I didn't go online here to fall asleep, so Hello from Denny's. Coming to you live. Um, the problem with breakfast food is it just doesn't stay with you. You could eat breakfast one moment and the next moment you're hungry again. Speaking of which, I better take my meds. My med, I should say. Oh, great, I lost it. There it is. All right. My special pill so I don't go on a shooting rampage. Not at all. It's for my psoriasis. We're going to try that out so that I don't look like a leper. It's probably an extreme exaggeration. If you have some kind of disease or condition, don't look up pictures of it on the internet because what you see there is like end of the world crap. Okay, So, yeah, fortunately, I don't have to the level of that some of those folks are. But somebody asked me the other day, I think it was yesterday. They asked me if I'd been in the service, and I said I was as close to being in this. No, I was as close to almost being in the service as possible. So I got diagnosed with psoriasis when I was shipping out to boot camp. This was 91, 92, something like that. And yeah, I've had it since. So it all worked out for the better now. I didn't like it at the time, but I didn't know what I was going to do. Because people are like, I know exactly what I'm going to do in college. Yeah, no. The system's all broken, man. People should like get to experience doing something. Even if you don't get paid or you get paid very little before you realize, oh shit, I probably shouldn't study this because I don't like what this is involved in. But they don't do that. So I had a buddy of mine who was going to go in the Navy right out of high school. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything. Let me give that a shot. And it didn't work out. And it turned out for the better, honestly. But everybody's got something. That's the card I got dealt with. So everybody's got something. Some people look really healthy and then they got all kinds of stuff that wrong with their blood and stuff. I'm glad I have what I have and not something else. Let's put it that way. My med whiskey. I had that last night. My brother came over. He had never seen John Wick, so we watched John Wick, and I had 4 whiskeys. And it was only 7 houses down because my mom lives in the same neighborhood I do. She's older and it's convenient. So he comes in every other week or so and we watch movies. We argue about which movie we're going to watch for a while. And then I think he likes comedy movies and I don't because I don't like the comedy that he likes. And so we settle on action movies, which is funny because as a kid, I was never allowed to watch shoot 'em up type movies with, I could watch war movies, but I couldn't watch like, just criminal type of movies, whatever. Now that's like all we watch. Yeah. I've already grown into the person that I'm going to be. So, I'm uncorruptible. But yeah, whiskey. Whiskey is my spirit animal. Or tequila. I'm fine with all of it. We're back to breakfast wars. Full fat fry ups rule. I don't know what that is. Full fat. It doesn't sound very attractive. But the only thing unhealthy that I would choose to eat at breakfast would be bacon. And I don't have to have bacon, but um, that's it. The rest of this stuff, nah. There's this breakfast place that I go to on with my daughter, and what we have there is we just have a thing called a Florida waffle, and it's just a waffle with strawberries and blueberries and whipped cream and banana, and that's it. I don't put any syrup or anything on it. It's about as healthy as it could be, and I'm perfectly fine with it. It tastes wonderful. I'd be happy eating that every day. Well, I don't need to eat a whole waffle full of the carb part. I don't move around enough to burn all that stuff off. So, but when we do go, that's what I get. So, breakfast wars. Yeah, you guys don't know what you're doing on the other side of the pond. Sorry, folks. I like food from other countries, but I'm not a fan of other countries' breakfast. Sorry, but that's okay. We could just skip to your lunchtime. Happy Easter to you too, Mr. Mike B. It's okay to talk about things you disagree on as long as you're not trying to convert each other, because that shit's not going to work. I think people should just have more people should have that attitude. Like, you can discuss things that you're not going to, agree upon, as long as both of you understand that, hey, don't convert the other person because it's just like a waste of your time, you know? So it would be like, you go into a game store and people are playing Warhammer. And like, hey, do you play war games? Yeah, I play 15 millimeter. Oh, you don't play Warhammer? No. Okay, we're done here, right? Go each separate ways. There's no reason to like tell them why one sucks over the other. And you're not going to change anybody's mind. I don't know. I just never, I never get a thrill out of arguing with people. Not worth my time. And I'm so ready to be done with these guys. Actually, I'm ready to be done with these guys. I'm ready to be done with the Russians too. So I want to pick a new army to work on from scratch. And I really don't want to entertain who it is right now, but I do. I do want to entertain who it is, but I don't want to think about it because by the time I get to act on it, it's going to be a little while. So, okay. So that's done. Let's go ahead and get the yellow stuff going. I'm sure we're going to have to revive all this stuff. It didn't. It didn't last overnight. All right. Where's our yellow? Our watery yellow. It's a pretty color, but it's watery, as almost all yellows are. Flat Earth, I think is what we're doing. Fry up bacon, sausages, fried egg, okay, black and white pudding. What's white pudding? I don't know what white pudding is. I know what black pudding is, and you wouldn't catch me dead eating that. And yes, I've tried it. It's horrible. I know, it's an acquired taste. Why acquire it? I had somebody gave me a piece of blood sausage one time, a long time ago, and didn't tell me what it was. And then I don't care what it was. It tasted horrible. And then when they told me what it was, then it tasted even worse. I'm like, nah, no thanks. What I do wrong? I can see having to eat really bad tasting things back in old times where it's like you either ate that or you freaking died. Okay, that's like this is all we had to eat. All that's left is intestines and cow butthole. That's all we have to eat. So we got to eat that, right? But now in this day and age, like no. I remember a long time ago talking about hot dogs. Somebody used to call, oh, it's lips and assholes. I'll never forget that. Oh man. Happy Easter to you too, Hardy. Thanks for coming by and interacting. I love talking about naval war gaming. Other than other than DBA now, that was the thing I knew the most about. I'm out of practice, so there's stuff I've forgotten now, but um, it is all about the ships. I can't see somebody doing any naval wargaming if they just don't aren't interested in learning about the ships and how they're different from each other and what one is good at, and it's just really cool. I find it very interesting. And we didn't have the internet. When I gamed that, I didn't have the internet. So I wanted to look at paint schemes. I'd get on my bike and I'd ride down to the University of Florida library where they had copies of Conways and stuff like, well, now I have my own copy of Conways, or I've had them for a long time. So you go through and correct things that maybe are incorrect in rules. It's like, that's not how much armor they had, or things like that. But I used to get on the bike and go down to the University of Florida library and take a look at all those books for ideas on scenarios and stuff. We didn't have the internet. Good times. It's all part of the experience, or all was part of the experience. Joe, I don't know if you're still watching, Joe. Happy Easter. You need to run a Secret game over with the boys. Just don't pick something too big. I know I'd like it. I've got the rules. I've never once tried to. They're not complicated. I've seen them run them. It still has the same flavor how you figured out the old ones. I mean, I knew Sea Creek 4 really, really well. Really, really well. And I don't mind the more detail. I just, I think that there's just not a lot of meaningful decisions you can make from turn to turn. That doesn't mean it's not entertaining, but it may be boring for people that really aren't into the ships. And just to kind of give you an idea how not interested I am in learning new rule sets, I have a little fleet. Hell, I'm going to pull them out because I know where they're at. I have a little fleet, maybe squadron is more accurate, of ships in 1/6000 scale that I got from Shapeways. I think I know where they're at. They're in a little tiny little metal tin because they're a 1/6000 scale. What's in here? Oh, there's ones to paint. Here's a little tin. I wonder where I'm gonna come if I'm gonna come across that die thing from that game. Okay, here's my little ships. And they're on magnetic bottoms as well, so that they travel well. Even though they've never traveled anywhere. Because I have a set of rules called shipwreck. And they're not very detailed. But, you know, it's modern warfare, so it's not as exciting as some of the other stuff, at least for me. Let's see if we can get the behave. Here we go. Inside here, you will find... Well, actually, you know what? We're not going to show you that yet. We're going to show you some of the ones that I have to paint. Hey, look, I got ships. This is figurehead stuff, 1/6000 scale. I picked up the pack for the Russians in World War I Black Sea Fleet. Let's see what I have in here. Let's find out what I have in here. If I had to do it again, I'd do it at 1/6000. So that way the scale of the game is more in line with the figures. Even though I love my 1/2400 scale stuff that I did, you know, if I had to start over. All right, what do we got here? We got some battle cruisers here. Sorry, Harvey, you left. You might have found this interesting. So these are all the figurehead stuff, which I don't particularly like the fact that they're on these little stands. Oh, I actually have something I didn't realize I had. All right. I knew I had the World War II ones. I didn't realize I had the World War I ones. So this is some of my favorite guys from World War II. We got the Renown. We've got, nope. We've got the Repulse. That's a beautiful looking ship. Always like the look of the Repulse and the hood. So I got those three guys. I should paint them up sometime. The problem is I'm you know, cogitating about what they should be on. Got a guy that's painted some of these ships on these little stands and look really good with the water. I'm just not really interested in painting all the little water. And then we've got some splendid cats from World War I. That's what it looks like. Yep. We've got Lion. Well, these all three are the same. Lion, Princess Royal, and Queen Mary. And Tiger with the three funnels all close together. Yeah. So I got those. Here's a little stands for them. I knew I had the World War II British ones. I just didn't realize I had the World War I British ones. And the rest of this is sets for the Russians in World War I in the Black Sea, because I got the Turks too. And here's the Russian dreadnoughts with the triple turrets. These are actually really nice castings. So they didn't have these when we used to do gaming. Little light cruiser, cute little thing. There's another one. Anyhow, I've got all the problem is I would have liked for all of these to be like this, and then I would just mount them on popsicle sticks and not have the little water on them, because I didn't want to learn how to do the water. The problem is when you get into destroyers and things like that, they're already cast on the metal base. So there's no way to get around that. You're going to have water on some of them. So, oh well. Let's put this stuff away and show you the stuff that I've been working on, and then the finished product. See, this is what happens. I'm not working on my guy anymore. That's okay. I'm awake. That's more important. What box is this in? Here we go. These things paint up pretty well, as a matter of fact. And I still use my standard method of painting when I'm painting these little guys. So I'm still using 4 or 5 shades of color, even though they're little. Right? All that stuff adds to it. All right. Not like I'm spraying them gray. So here's some shapeways. Here's some shapeway castings. Good morning, Jeffrey. Yeah, here's some shapeway castings. So if I'm going to do modern, I didn't want to do the whole Russian U.S. crap. I wanted to do stuff in the Pacific, based around those damn islands that the Chinese are creating. And so this is what I have. I need to play with these guys because these guys look really nice. Well, I like how they turned out. Let's see if I can get the camera to do them justice. So here is my Chinese and Japanese squadrons. There's actually a scenario. I want to say it was on the news group, the Yahoo group for Shipwreck. There's a scenario, a 3-way scenario with, I think it's Korea. Is it Korea? It's Korea or Taiwan? No, it's Taiwan. It's Taiwan, China, and Japan, like a 3-way battle, and they each have different things. So this is the Japanese force for that scenario and the Chinese force for that scenario. So, but I painted all the little deck markings and everything by hand. It's really pretty easy. See if I can get a side view of them. You can see the shading on them a little bit more. But they're all named. They're on popsicle sticks. So we got Shenzhen, Shenyang, Lanzhou, Haikou, Anqing, Tongling. These are all little frigates and different things like that. Let's see if we can get a side. No, the Japanese will have to do it from this angle. But you got helicopter carrier with the little markings on them. That was fun to do. But I got to play Shipwreck with it. So I got to figure out how to struggle through that rule set. Or just do with this. Just put them away and just said, hey, we had fun painting them. But we've got the Taiwanese ships, which the Taiwanese have a lot of ex-US stuff. So I ended up using a lot of ships from the Hallmark, the actual manufacturer in metal, you know. So like this one is an O.H. Perry. I don't know what the hell this is. I don't remember anymore, but they're for that scenario. So we've got them. Yeah, I was just going to mount them on popsicle sticks. Look at this little guy. This is a Knox class frigate. Look, it's got little helicopter symbols on there. I love doing stuff like that, painting things on there that don't exist. It just kind of. But what I did, here's a landing type ship. You know, I took little pieces of basswood and then super glued them to the bottom. So then I have something to hold, and I've got a piece of styrofoam where I stick these things into while they're drying and stuff. It actually worked really well. It was kind of my first shot at trying to do that. And yeah, and I think I picked up some French frigates as well, as I figured, oh, there might be some French guys poking along in there that just come across something. So I don't mind the multiple nations, but the majority of the ships in what I was interested in doing would be, you know, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, North Korean, Taiwan, Singapore, that kind of stuff, you know. And then, you know, a U.S. thing lumbers across it or something like that, but not focused on the U.S. and, you know, and that kind of thing. So anyhow, that was our little tracking thing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Oh, I got something else in here. What else do I have in here? I've got some of the first 15mm figures I ever painted. This is back when I was building a Renaissance Spanish army for Armati. We didn't get very far. But here's my Canon crew. What is it? What are the safety glasses? Oh, I know what they were for. And it wasn't we were playing dress up. It was I was using some chemicals and I wanted to get that. So these are Essex figures that these guys were painted a long time ago. These are some of the first figures I ever did this style of painting with. These are the first figures I painted that weren't like World War II figures. So these are some sword and bucklermen. These guys will end up getting redone and used for the sword and bucklermen for my Italian Condata. So we're just going to repaint them. They're they're not as good as what I do now, but still they got shading and there's no washes or anything like that. And then this is a light cav. You can see they've just kind of been thrown in there. The horse still looks good. This was painted about 1995. You know, these are like the first horses I ever painted. And actually, these are the figures that got me to start painting the way I do now with the layering technique. I never had any before that. Got some pikemen because we were doing intro armati, so you had a pike unit that could either be side to side or it could be one behind the other. But four figures don't represent a unit of pikemen very well, but you can see my basing technique sucked. I made no attempt to hide the bases and just kind of painted the green and just dipped them in the flock, and that was it. So this is primitive Tony. And then the cannon I used here, which really isn't, it's more like an English Civil War or a 30 Years War type cannon, but looks like it fell off of here. But anyhow, so that's my delving into that period. I forgot I had this elephant here. So this is an elephant I didn't paint. I won him at some kind of a tournament. And I'm pretty sure this is not Chariot. Well, they're called Magister Militum now. I forget exactly who they are, who they used to be called. But this is a Seleucid elephant. You can tell from the headdress. But I didn't paint this. This came to me like that. So I've got a Seleucid army to do. So if I ever get around to doing that, then I'll just repaint this guy and make him look. But this is a nice casting. Who is it? Not Chariot. Frick. I don't remember who they're called. Anywho, sidetracked. You have Falklands forces and Indian Ocean fleets. Ooh, Indian Ocean would be cool. Indian Ocean forces inspired by the Harpoon computer game scenario. So I had the original Harpoon. Okay, I had the original Harpoon computer game, and I played that quite a bit. I remember when you fired little missiles, you would have the little. It would scroll into like the little top view of the ship, and you hear it go, and then do another one. I played that quite a bit, but it's not World War II. Okay, I gotta take a small potty break, and then we'll be back doing some medieval Germans, hopefully. Okay. Well, that was a fun distraction. Well, I had fun anyways. See, I do other things, or I used to do other things. Okay, I used to do other things, but I'll be honest with you, I've never had more fun playing war games, miniature war games, than I do now with the DBA. So even though it's not my favorite period, it does provide the best challenge, excitement in games that we've ever had, and we finish every game. So that speaks volumes. So, all right, back at it again. Yellow dude. Here you go. That's over here. Harpoon. I remember playing some games of that on miniatures. You'd have this big 2400 scale model, and then it would be 30 seconds turn. And you'd move it, and you'd move like a third of an inch or something like that. And it's like so out of scale. But I do have the shipwreck rules. It's just difficult to just sit down and try to learn how to play something. I just don't have it in me anymore. You get older, and you get to do a lot of things you have to do a lot of things at work that you don't enjoy that are like that, then it just ends up becoming work. So I did do the part I enjoyed, which was to paint the little ships. So I guess I could have Australians too, because they're over there in that part of the world. Yeah. Yeah, I figured that would make a good plot. Chinese doing the things that the Chinese like to do, and then tussle over with other people. All right. We need to cover over some metal that got in a place where it wasn't supposed to be. So let's cover it with that, and then we will come back over and lighten this up. This is just so damn watery, this yellow, but it really doesn't affect me as much as maybe some other folks because I'm putting really thin layers on these guys anyways to begin with. So that doesn't really affect. I'm going to have to go over the damn figure so many times anyways. So not exactly a one and done kind of person. So use a set of rules from the 1980s War at Sea by Mod Games. 1 centimeter equals 2 nautical miles. Wow, that's really zoomed in. Uncomplicated rules. Oh, unless you're talking about a modern, yeah. Yeah, I don't mind the modern games being a little bit more generic, a little bit more vague. But yeah, if you're doing something like World War II, World War One, pre-dreadnoughts, yeah, I want to count every last rivet. That's just me. That's just me. Yeah, if somebody held a gun to my head and said, "You've got to learn how to play shipwreck," the way I would do it is I would probably pick a weekend like this one and go through the talk to myself out loud, working my way through it. That'd be the only way I could stay on track. Otherwise, I would end up just reading the same sentence over and over again and not comprehending. Or, do it with Mitch live, but he has limited time when his time is limited when I have it off, and when mine's limited, he's off. So it's kind of the polar opposite on that. Like I said, if we're playing something else, we're not playing DBA. And those modern games may not have very meaningful decisions you get to make from turn to turn, which, in my opinion, means they'll suck. I won't enjoy them, you know? Meaningful decisions and lots of ways to skin a cat. And you don't get to build terrain and stuff. I mean, you get to build castles. It just really it is a nice experience to be able to play these ancient medieval stuff. There's just a lot of different stuff to build for it. I think we need to make this a little bit more yellow. I did have the Avalanche Press games. They started with whatever it's called, the South Pacific one, and then I had the Bismarck one and the Mediterranean one, Bomb Alley, and I got those mainly for the strategic system, and then used a different game for the tactical. But the tactical game was, even though it was generic, was okay. I think if you could but I just ended up selling them several years ago. I played them. I played the tactical games quite a bit. Even played them with Mitch, so that tells you it was. I probably got rid of them around 2014, something like that. Yeah, now they're out of print, and they're a beautiful looking board games. I'm not opposed to playing board games as long as they look good, and that's a damn good looking war game. But okay, let's compare yellows and see how we're doing color wise. I think if we add a little bit of white to this, we'll be okay. We'll be where we need to be. Now, sailing ships. Yes, I played wooden ships and Iron Man, but I really don't care for the period. It's all focused on the on the crew quality. So, if you've got Americans and British, the Americans are going to win. If you got British and French, the British are going to win, or they have a significant advantage. The British and and then the Spanish are just the bottom of the food chain. It'd be more excited if you had to do like Turks and Russians or something like that. But I don't mind the wooden hulls, but I like the steam power, so I wouldn't mind doing the period around, say, the 1870s, 1880s. 1870s and 1880s could be interesting, you know. But there's a company called Tumbling Dice in the UK, and they have a lot of ships for that period. So, but they're 1/2400 scale. But those are really short range games, so that'd be fun. But all right, we're out of beverage, so we need to go take care of that. If it's not one thing, it's the other. Know what the temperature's supposed to be today. Yesterday it got into, like, I think when I woke up it was like 34, 32, 33, something like that. And then it warmed up to 74. I was like, holy crap. That was just way too warm. Okay. All right. Can we finish this guy? I'm so tired of networking on this guy. Oh, I want to do something else. I want to do something else. How long we been on here? Well, we'll go to about 9:30. No later than that, and we'll take a break. 'Cause I gotta go have a proper breakfast. I had a quickie one, so just to kind of get in my belly. All right. Can we leave this guy as he is? We got to bring it up a little bit more. Damn it. Damn it, man. All right. That's done. We skipped over the wood that we needed to do for the handle there, and also the metal for the iron. So let's go ahead and knock both those things out. and wood, and then we'll do the Nuln Oil on them. What color are we using for wood? Looks like I was just using this one. That one there. Let's just roll with that. So we got some game that we're doing tomorrow. I'm not sure what it is just yet. We'll do that live, and then we should be able to do on Tuesday another live game. Supposed to do DBN on Tuesday. So let's put it this way. I'm not going to game on Tuesday unless it's DBN. Because Joel is supposed to come back into town, so I understand. So we will do that if he's there. If not, then it's just really difficult for me to, like, if there was gaming today, or had it been yesterday, I would have been fine with it. But that's when somebody else works. So, and honestly, I do plenty of gaming. It's not like I'm like, well, I need to game more times a week. I'm fine gaming once a week. Because invariably we end up gaming in the evenings, which throws my whole schedule off for the next morning. If we're like, hey, let's game at 5 in the morning. Yeah, man, let's do that. Uh-oh, it's almost, I don't know if you guys can see that. We got the light coming through the transom window that is going to be shining across here and going to throw me off. So we'll see if we can avoid that having any bad repercussions to that. And we're playing in a place that's unair conditioned. So I would be more likely to want to play in the morning where it's cooler instead of, at the end of a day where it's been baking in there. Or we have to run the air conditioner in there, which gives you that constant whir, which I'm sure is a lot of fun to listen to for you guys that are watching a video. But it's either that or it's sweltering. Yeah, let's bring this up a tiny little bit more. No, did I use that red brown? I did. That was the correct one. Ha! Okay, the saddle. Let's not forget the saddle. Now, there's a big goop of that paint here somewhere. Yeah, you can see how there's a shadow here? That's the light coming on here over in this area. Yeah, it's between 9 and 9:30 normally. Okay, let's saddle color should be this one, I believe. That's not it. It's this brown sand one. Yep. Used to take me a lot longer to figure out what color it is, but you can pretty much figure it's not going to be one of, you just narrow it down to colors it isn't. Okay. Vallejo brown sand. One thing that keeps me from doing any more video gaming that I would normally do is my internet connection so bad at home. You wouldn't know from this video because it's not being run through the internet. But frequently I'm getting disconnected a lot, so that keeps me from getting too involved with that stuff. Well, we will see when the wife gets back. I think we got some leads on maybe some way to improve that. If we get that fixed, then maybe we can do the streaming at 1080 instead of being limited to 720. And that's just that is just a YouTube decision to limit mobile streaming to 720. So my phone can do 8K. So it's not a factor of the phone. The phone is kick ass. It's just dumbed down by the YouTube gods. So to kind of give you an example, I've got a current example to show you. I went and booted up a computer game that I hadn't played an Xbox game I hadn't played in a long time, and lo and behold, there's a patch for it. It was a patch that was 8 gigs. And I said, okay, start downloading it. It took 5 hours to download that patch. So at my internet speed at home, I can't connect through the phone and do that. So The only problem with DBA is when Mitch's turn to move. I could finish War and Peace by the time he finishes his geometric adventure. So that's a good question, okay? Because I don't see that when I'm playing, and I feel like sometimes I take a long time too. Does he take significantly longer to move than I do? I mean, I'm fine with the geometry. The problem is making decision. Um, I guess maybe I don't take as long. I don't know. Um, I don't play. I've lost. I've lost and won. I've won and lost so many games that another loss just isn't that important to me. And like I've said before, is I don't mind losing to him. Somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to lose. So I can't think of. I'd rather have him to beat me than him. So I mean, maybe I could put more thought into what I do, but I don't feel like I need to. I don't know that, I just don't care that much anymore. It's kind of the same thing. It's like if I'm going to roll, then why overthink what I'm going to do? It's not, sometimes just things aren't going to go your way. That's just part of, life. I never really noticed that he takes longer than I do, but you mentioned Seleucids. Would love to see you take that army on, a mix of just about everything in the ancient war world. Would love to see you take that army on. So you'd like to see me build a Seleucid army or play against a Seleucid army? Mitch has a Seleucid army. I have a Ptolemaic one, but mine's not 3.0 compatible. I've got to paint two more solid ox. Oh, cringe. And no, I've got to paint one more solid ox, and I've either have to paint two more solid ox or a solid ox and a solid warband. Double cringe on both of those. So um, I just hadn't got around to doing that. But I played a fair number of games with my Ptolemaic, but they're the 2.2 version of the army. So we like those Swiss Army knife successor armies. They're cool. Um, yeah, Seleucids. They would be. I have the figures to do a Seleucid army, by the way. I just hadn't because Mitch already has them. So I try to, if I know somebody that already has that army, it's like why bother building it? When I can be building something totally new. And it's not like, well, I'm going to keep Tony from building this army. Let me buy it. No, but it is something I consider. I take it into consideration. So does Mitch take that much longer to move? And the question is this a common thing? And it may be something like he's slowed down in his play. He's slowed down in his decision making. That I don't know. We always play at the end of a workday, so I really don't want to complicate my life anymore. It's I could probably be paying harder and faster, but faster from the standpoint of better. But I don't care. I don't care that much. It doesn't bother me that much to lose. I don't care that much to win. So I'd rather put focus on painting these little boogers correctly and better than gaming better. So the person that used to take for freaking ever to play was Don Harding. Holy crap, he would take forever, and he would worry about all kinds of stuff. He'd be like, "Oh, I know what you're going to do there." I'm like, "Well, please tell me because I don't." He's, he would play really, 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 really slow, and it was easy to get inside your head even without even trying. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm not playing these games to try to get in somebody's head or like I'm going to do this, so he thinks that I'm going to do this. But really, what I'm off that's just too complicated. Okay, I'm not interested in that level of gaming. It's not like my real life is on the line. It's just a war game, and we want to see crazy stuff happen. So I'm not too worried about winning. You could do all that worrying, and then you just roll a bunch of ones in a row, and all of that extra planning you did just went out the window. I'd rather not have a lot of investment. But I had not noticed that Mitch moves slow. Those damn Numidians. I got to pull the stats on those sons of bitches and see what my win-loss ratio is against them. It's got to be something horrendous. It's got to be like 8-1 or something like that. Like I've won one game against them for every eight played. Just whatever it is. No, we're not playing them in opens. It's not like, well, why are they kicking everybody? Well, because you're trying to set up battles that are, that are even to a degree. And you don't want to see a lopsided affair. That's damn Numidians. Oh man. Mm. All right, let's brighten this up a little bit more. All right, I think we need to go to a smaller brush that I have a little bit more control over. Let's go with this one. All right, is it strappy time? No, we need to lighten this up a little bit. 1 hour war games is a very easy set for trying different periods, rather. But do you get to have meaningful decisions? I like a game being done in an hour, not because I can't stand playing a longer game, but it's an opportunity to play more games and seeing different things. So it's not an attention span issue for me. It's just you use it for unusual scales. 2 millimeter or 3 millimeter. Which one's Pico Armor? Is Pico Armor 3 or 2? I can't remember which one it is. If I had to go back to doing that kind of stuff, like land command decision, something along that scale, operational scale war games, I would definitely use Pico Armor and then make a stand, maybe a 40 by 40 stand. Like, let's say you're doing a 1 to 5th scale game, okay? So you put your tank platoon or whatever on a stand like this, and then you can arrange them in a formation. It isn't necessarily representative of how they would be on there, because like if you had like several of them, you could have them. They wouldn't all be in a wedge. They could be in random or to some degree, and then every tank would be on there. So it would be 1-to-1 scale, but you wouldn't play in 1-to-1, and that would be cool. Again, just brainstorming. I'm not going to get into that, but I'm just just saying that would be kind of cool. Love your painting, by the way. It's a very relaxing stream. Well, let's see if we can turn it up a notch. It is. It's painting is, it's therapy. It's my therapy. Thanks for you guys coming by and participating. I don't mind chit chatting. Just hopefully we get enough interaction that I can change the subject a little bit. Otherwise, I feel like maybe sometimes I'm talking in circles. But yeah, this is my therapy. This is everything's good here. I sometimes make a mistake or I'm unhappy with how something turns out, and it's very easy to just say, okay, well, let's just do this and this and rectify the situation. It's very forgiving, and there's two people that I don't follow. I do follow several people, but I don't watch their videos very often because I'm kind of making my own. But there's two people in particular that if I met them in real life and gamed with them, maybe they wouldn't have, maybe they wouldn't be as much fun to game with. Because I think that our group, we have a lot of fun gaming. We do. But these two particular individuals do like reviews and they have their own little channel. And their channels are even more low key than my painting stuff. But I really like to listen to them because they have a calming voice. They may not have enough energy for gaming with them because I've always enjoyed high energy gaming, but I do like to listen to them. I love watching unboxings when you listen to the stuff like that when people are taking things out. And it's not because I want to buy this stuff. It's just it's relaxing. Before I made any videos, I would listen to other people's videos and it's calming. So I get it why you you know, would be listening to something that somebody else is doing while you're doing your own thing. I get it. I've been there. It works for me too. Um, I don't know if my, I don't know if I'm that relaxing, but these other two individuals in particular are very calming. One of them's American and one of them is a Briton. But yeah, one of them does game reviews, and this Joker must have hundreds of, I mean, maybe thousands of games. Like, how do you get that many games? And if you had that many, there's no way in hell I would remember what the hell the game's about. I mean, I would remember what it's about, but the mechanics, it just isn't worth it anymore. I just but they're fun to listen to from time to time. But I don't watch them as much as I should because I'm creating my own, you know, content. This keeps me on track. Finish, even though you saw me get sidetracked into like naval war gaming. I enjoy that. I enjoy, exercising my mind about things of days gone by. That keeps me awake. It's just like last night was just impossible. I just could not stay awake. It just wasn't enough interaction. So didn't have enough to say, and I didn't have enough energy to get more things done. And you want to talk about something stupid? Let me know. We'll talk about something stupid, and we'll jibber jabber while we're getting stuff done. But um, yeah, I appreciate you find that it's relaxing. It's That's good. I appreciate it. I gotta move that water cup from there. It's gonna end up in my mouth. Which it's water-based paint. What's gonna happen? Nothing. But there's no caffeine in water-based paint. So what I've started doing actually with coffee, I wouldn't say I'm a coffee addict, but I do have it every day. Is I've started watering it down, um, mainly so I can have more coffee because you. I've got one of those little. You pour the bottling the water in it. You put three scoops, and you put the water. You know, you boil the water. You pour that in, and then you let it percolate for 4 to 7 minutes, something like that. Push it down, and then you're good to go. But it's pretty concentrated, and it's not that I can't handle it being that concentrated, but it's not very many cups of coffee. It's I could probably get maybe one of these cups completely. So I just started cutting it in half with ice and everything, and it's a little smoother and it's more coffee. But that's what I need to have every day. The whiskey and stuff. Yeah, we have fun talking about that, but I could stop drinking tomorrow and I'd be perfectly fine. That's irrelevant. No, no alcohol abuse in my family that I'm aware of. So it's just kind of a. I don't like being told I can't do it, but if I couldn't do it, it would not be the end of the world at all. It's not important to me. Uh oh, what happened here? Let's adjust this. Ooh, there we go. There we go. But I do enjoy having a drink, and I do behave better with a drink. So people would like me a lot more at work if I could drink at work. I would like going to work a lot more if I could drink at work. Back in the early 90s, early 90s? Yeah, early 90s. I had my own place, and I would frequently have my original Mitch would come over once a week to paint, and he would leave his paints there, and we would have one table, and we had like this. Well, we didn't have an art light back then; it was a fluorescent light, but he would leave his paints there, and we would just chit chat while we painted. And sometimes we'd have a beer, and if we had that second beer, well, you might as well just throw the painting out the window. It wasn't even important. But we had some good times, and I learned to I wouldn't say multitask. 'Cause I'll admit I'm a terrible multitasker, and I'm fine with being a terrible multitasker. I don't do well getting pulled into too many different directions. It's very unsatisfying to start a bunch of things and not finish them. So, but I kind of got accustomed to painting and talking. So it wasn't a distraction per se. It kind of helped me stay on track, so to speak. But, we didn't have the internet or none of that stuff back then. That was the olden days. But the good old days. Well, they were the good old days because of the stuff that was going on. Not necessarily, things were a lot tighter back then. Let's put it that way, money wise. So, but now it's like I got so many things I've collected over the years that I'm getting a kick out of painting them. And it's a good thing because now shipping's expensive. And all right, let's lighten this up some. I've probably told that same story many times. I apologize. Hey, some of you guys may just be tuning in for the first time. Bunch of virgins. It's all good. When I used to paint alone, I used to listen to music, and then that didn't cut it. And then I would listen to talk radio, and then that wouldn't cut it. And then I would listen to what else? Like stuff on Audible, and it just, no, it's not interactive enough. It's too much of the same thing over and over again. And I do like Audible. I do like books on Audible, but I do my best painting in the morning, which basically means that during the work week, it's very difficult to get any painting done that's worthwhile. But the filming really helps me keep on track. So the fact that some of you guys have even a remote interest, even if it's only a handful of you, that's fine. Just helping me get through this together. Maybe I'll say something that you'll be like, oh, let me read more about that, or something else, or maybe you're like, I'm glad I don't game with Tony because he's a pain in the ass, or whatever, whatever kind of uh, inspiration, or you know, maybe it'll provide some. Um, I've watched other videos of other game groups and be like, man, those guys are cool, except that guy. I'm glad I don't game with them. That guy's a pain in the ass. I don't think we have one of those in our group. I think we're fortunate. I think we're fortunate. There's that one saying that I coined. Every group has every game group has an asshole in it, and if you think your group doesn't, then you're the asshole. Oh man. There it is, staring you right in the face. Oh. So one of the things that I got to do at a Historicon a couple of years ago was it the last one that they had in 2019? Yeah, 2019. I got to walk around that I'd never done before. Um, have I never done it before? Maybe I'd done it one time. Is I got to walk around the vendor hall with someone who was a painter like me. And that was really cool because Mitch is a lot of fun to hang around with. He's a lot of fun to game with. I've really had maybe not had more fun gaming with someone other than Mitch. He's probably tops, but he doesn't paint. So if I get excited about a product or a terrain piece or something creative, he's dead to me. He's not very useful when it comes to that. So it was really cool walking around with Rod and going, "Hey, what about these? Look at this grass, or look at this paint, or look at these figures to pick." It was walking around with someone who had that creative thing, and that was a really cool experience. So, yeah, yeah, good times, good times. But that's the stuff I miss the convention for. For gaming, I'm getting plenty of gaming. You know, we're gaming more than just about anyone. So, right now, so I don't really need it for the gaming aspect of it. I just want to hang out with folks. You know, And who knows? It may never go back to how it was before. I mean, it's that's out of my hands. And I'm not somebody who I would consider myself positive all the time. I know I'm not. I think I am when it comes to gaming and this stuff. I think I'm really positive when it comes to this stuff. But other things in my life, like at work and stuff, yeah, I know. I've been doing the same thing for a long time, and it's like, oh, here again. I'm like that disgruntled cop that pulls somebody over for the same thing again, you know. But now Mitch seems positive all the freaking time, you know. They just don't make those happiness suppositories in my size that they do for him, you know. But yeah, but when it comes to like gaming or convention or stuff like that, yeah, it's all good. That's all a positive experience from my standpoint. Even if you don't win games, who cares, you know? So what I was getting at was, even though I'm not positive at everything that I do, I am about painting and gaming, you know? And I'm actually very, I don't know if upset is the right word, but I get upset when, well, we'll just use upset for now. When you have, I'm going to use Facebook for instance. I like Facebook a lot because it's very easy to use, and I post most of my phone. Do I get into arguments with people on that? Absolutely not. Not interested. Let's find stuff that we have in common. But I get really upset when you have a hobby group on Facebook, for instance, and it happens on other things as well, where if somebody posts the stuff that they're working on and they're trying to get better, don't freaking poo-poo their work, man. They're just this is this could be their therapy too, their outlet for their therapy, you know. Somebody said, hey, I'm playing this new rule set. If you don't like that rule set, you don't need to be like, well, DBA sucks. You don't need to. Well, then, don't play it. You know, I mean, I can tell you all the reasons why I'm not interested in playing Flames of War. But if you like to play Flames of War, play Flames of War. The reality is if I lived in a town where there was a lot of Flames of War players and they were okay individuals, I'd probably play Flames of War. I may not paint any of my own stuff, but you kind of have to go with the crowd. You can't just be the one guy that's like, well, I want to do Flames of War, but I want to do it in 6 millimeter. Well, you may be buying stuff for everybody, but don't poo-poo other people's stuff, man. Gaming should be all positive because none of us are making any money off of it. So why are we doing this? Well, some people may be doing this to argue with other people, but this is this is your this is my therapy. So this public service message was provided to you by. And that's the reason why I don't really like getting into arguments with people on the internet. You post a lot of controversial stuff, and the next thing you know, all you have to do is you're being put on trial. Then it's like I don't have time or energy for that. That's going to take away from doing what I really enjoy, which is this. Okay, folks, it's non-oil time. Let's get our non-oil on. I know someone who spilled one of these, and I try to learn from other people's mistakes. And I can see how it's easy for it to happen. It's not like the person was a klutz. So I'm like very mindful, like, okay, you go get your ass over there, get away from my arm where I can knock you down by accident. Although this isn't a water-based product, so probably would have called it gnome water. Bring out your gnome. Boom. Man, it's almost 10. I got see now at this point I gotta wrap I gotta finish this guy. I gotta finish this guy before I go and have a proper breakfast. A more proper breakfast. Let's put it that way. All right. How is the bronze holding up? Well, I see it over there. Let's make sure that's on tight. Here. Nope. You'd be dead. You'd be dead. Nope. Let's go back to this one. Let's not forget to paint this guy's chin. Ultimately, like let's say I finished the figure and sealed them and everything, and then I go, oh crap, I didn't paint both chins. I would just paint them then. And it's fine. They're in a place where they're not going to get scuffed off by handling. And you can't really touch that part. So if you miss something, it's not a big deal. Go back and add it on as long as it's in a place where it's not going to get a lot of wear and tear on it or the paint's going to come off. And odds are it's almost never going to be the case because if it was front and center where it was located on the figure, you wouldn't have missed it to begin with to paint it, you know? So, yeah, there you go. All right, we got, oh, that's the wrong one. There we go. This is like bleached bone or something, skeleton bone. Skeleton bone, the Dutch, the Danish paints, army painter. All right, we're just going to paint these stirrups, and I believe the stirrup on this side disappears. It does. It just has the hoop that goes around the foot, but then it doesn't attach to anything else. So you kind of have to paint that in. Well, you don't have to paint it in. I've chosen to. And I believe this is the same color that we use for the reins. So we're going to go ahead and paint that in as well. Okay, and we need to do the handle here for the sword. Look at this crinkly Crinklestein here. Come on, sit your ass down. There we go. There we go. It's a very relaxing painting instrument. It's so relaxing, I think everybody fell asleep. And let's lighten that up some. All right, what we got left on here? Yeah, touch stuff up with the metal. We got a pair of chins. Let me use the bathroom, man. That's the problem with with drinking coffee, man. I feel like I gotta pee all the time. It's good to work on your circulation, right? Wait, that's not called circulation. So I'll be right back, and then we'll start doing the chins and wrap this guy up. So as much as I like wargaming, I'm pretty intolerant. Maybe intolerant isn't the right word. I'm pretty. Let's just use intolerant. Vocabulary is not my strong suit, I guess, in the mornings. I'm pretty intolerant when it comes to um, having wargaming leave a bad taste in my mouth. And to give you an example, there's a computer game that I'm a big fan of, but if it is a pain in the ass to connect with someone else and play, and it takes forever and it's frustrating, I'd rather just not even play it. You know, that's why I do this painting. It's like I know at the end of the day, I may not be done with these guys, okay? I may have to still work on these guys, say, another week, but I didn't get left with a bad taste in my mouth by painting them. It was all a positive experience. So that's why I think that even though I do like the computer gaming and stuff like that, I don't think it'll totally replace miniatures for me ever because, I don't get frustrated when I'm messing with miniatures. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, as opposed to, say you're playing a game with someone online and everything's going great and you get disconnected. So you go to connect again and your game's gone. You have to start. No, I don't have time for that. Okay. That's a bad experience. That's that's not for me. So that's why I think that these things will always have a place for, we'll just highlight that a little bit. That's the other reason that I've kind of switched to just doing live stuff, because the editing part and the uploading, that's just a part of the experience I just really do not like. And it takes forever. So, I mean, I like to film. It's fun. There's some interesting things that happen to us that, would be a shame if other people didn't see them, you know? So, all right, what do we got left on? We got the reins here. Right. What else are we missing on here? Okay, it's time for the chins. We got to highlight his armor with one color further up. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and knock out all the metallic stuff while we're at it. Okay, close this up. I don't know if it makes that much of a difference, but I know I did the step. You know what? We never did this. We never finished this color. There we go. I just heard the corridor opening and closing. We had, I want to say a year ago and earlier, we'd have these roving bands of people that would come over on, not roving bands, but it seemed like every Saturday we would have somebody from some church would be knocking on our door wanting us to go to their church. That'd be really annoying if that happened every Saturday I was painting and you didn't counter that. Okay, we're going to give this guy a black mane. Why not? Chins. Let's not forget the chins, folks. Chin, chinny, chin, chin, chin. Let's see. Let's do that over here. I have some of those colors here. There's a red leather. You could put no soliciting signs everywhere in the neighborhood and stuff, and people still mess with you. I don't leave people alone, man. Don't be knocking on the doors. I don't bother other people. I expect the same treatment. Okay. Oh, getting ahead of myself here. Here we go. Let's get some black on here. Chinny chin chin time. I don't know. Is it official that Roundway is kaput? I know the last time several people tried to order from him, the owner's been MIA. I know he's got some health issues, and I'm sure that if you got health issues and you have the current environment, how things are, that's doesn't really help you any. It's not like all of a sudden you're going to get better service. So I'd ordered from him several times. I love the figures. I love the Roundway figures. These are Roundway figures, and yeah, there was some discussion. I heard that people were like, "He's not returning my emails." That was always my big scare with him. Is I'm used to, rightly or wrongly, I'm used to when you order something, you get the person saying, "Hey, we got your order. Thank you for your order. We're working on it." Instead of it just languishing in somebody's inbox, not knowing whether it's been acted upon or not. So that's kind of what I'm used to. That's the kind of service that I have to give my customers at work. I mean, somebody sends you an email, just respond to the email. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just like, yeah, we're working on it. I'll let you know. Instead of wondering, is the guy all right? Is he out of business? Or I believe his name is John Roberts. Could be wrong. But I like the Roundway figures a lot. All right. What do we got left on this guy before? Oh, we still have hooves to do and the hair. Right. And we're going to lighten this up one. I want to eat, but I also want to finish these guys. So we're going to finish these guys before we go on to something else. Okay, that guy's done. Socks. What are we doing? This other one has. Let's only do the socks in the back. How about that? One thing about painting that surprises me is how many people I've seen that paint in midair, as I like to call it. They're holding the figure here, their hands aren't supported by anything, and they're just kind of, you know, just going wild with it. I've never been able to do that. That would makes me extremely nervous. The tiring. What I'm doing here is as long as I stay physically awake, this is not tiring at all. I could do this for ever. Man, you guys have been quiet today. That's all right. We're to the end of the line here. Ah, I was like, I'm done. Nope. Hooves. Damn it, man. Man, I'm just gonna have to have breakfast and lunch back to back. Don't think I can't do it. Don't think I can't do it. Where is that stone gray? It's not where it should be. Oh, see, I gotta put it over here. Yep, Dunkov. It's almost the same as that one. Almost the same. Oh, almost drank the paint water. Well, we got to go darker than that for the first layer. Now we can bring this up. Okay. I think we're done with this clown, as I like to tell Mitch. Do you have it? Okay. Well, that wraps this unit up. Well, obviously we still have to do the ceiling and all that kind of stuff, but I'm gonna go have some breakfast, and I'm not sure if I'll be back on later today. We'll just have to see how it plays out. But if not, you guys keep painting. I showed you how to do it. Get started to continue doing that. So. Okay, folks, thanks for joining me, and happy Easter, and enjoy the rest of your day. See ya. Bye bye.